Good evening. Welcome. This meeting of the Centennial School Board is called to order at 6:32 p.m. on February 7th, 2024. And we do have a quorum present. We also have a board member joining us virtually, Director Hardens online. At this moment, I'd like to welcome all of the Butler Creek folks that came here to join us today. We're very excited to hear from you and your school coming up in just a little bit, but we've got a few business items to get through first. First up is approving the agenda.
Motion to approve the agenda as presented.
Second.
All those in favor, raise your hand and say aye.
Aye.
Aye. All right. The minutes, next up, we'll approve the minutes of the last board meeting. Those have been presented in board book. Are there any amendments to those? Or can I get in a motion to approve?
Motion to approve the meeting minutes?
Second.
All those in favor, raise your hand and say aye.
Aye.
Aye. The ayes have it. All right. Moving right along. Nothing from public forum? Thank you very much. Next up, we'll jump right into reports. How are you feeling? Ready?
My Chromebook is lagging because of the Wi-Fi is really low off my phone, the hotspot, so I'm not able to show you the presentation.
Would you like to, can we get her on the district one? Perfect. We'll get that just a minute. Is there anything you'd like to?
Is it like a song and dance?
Please.
I don't have any, but I just provided Director Southerton
This one?
a dad jokes book yesterday, 2 days ago. So maybe he can get up and tell a couple.
Thank you so much.
Director Curry did reach out and apologize for his absence today, and wanted to make sure to thank the board of directors and staff for the flowers. So.
How do I get in the Zoom? Thank you.
We'll have to come up with a routine.
I've been learning how to become comfortable with silence. I found that I can count in my head and no one knows, and I'm just waiting.
Oh, it's right here.
Technology.
Oh my goodness.
Is your show run over?
My current showrun is over. We closed on Sundays.
You were fabulous.
Thank you.
I have to say that the women really dominated. The men were good too, but the talent was definitely.
This meeting is very heavy male cast. So many men.
Yeah. I mean, you got to die on stage twice. Every actor's dream.
Right?
Please qualify that statement. You too. You are being recorded.
Don't worry, I have more things I'm working on.
Excellent.
Never a dull moment. That's right.
Thank you all for your patience.
Hello. So sorry. So it's a little Centennial High School. It's a recap. So this one's a little bit short because we have more things coming, and I want to like talk about it more once they're set and done, so you guys can know the recap. But basically today we had the Black History Month assembly. We had a big dance performance. So it was like planned by our Black Student Union, and we had student council help them out. It was a really good assembly. We had also, aside from it just being a celebration of the Black History Month, we also had our nominees announced, which is pretty exciting. And yeah, so we have a very special event for our school coming up. We have the Lunar New Year celebration, and you all are invited. It's February 12th. It's on a Monday. It's my birthday. It's from 4:30 to 6:30. There will be games, food, a raffle. I'm not sure what they're raffling, but be there to find out. There'll be some lion dancing. I'm pretty sure Lotus is coming. Yes, the lion dance Lotus. They're pretty big here. Yeah, free entry. So you're just having fun with a free entry. So yeah, that's like my updates. We do have a new Eagles news forecast that came out, and the intro is like so much better. It's just so good. So I'm gonna show you guys that. I'm gonna share that with you guys. Let's see if I. Oh yay!
Good morning, Eagles. My name is Mia Basco, and I'm here with.
Misha St. John, and I hope you guys were able to stay nice and warm during the ice storm.
Now let's take a look at where the class of 2024 sees themselves in 10 years. Who am I here with?
Emil Vivano.
Where do you see yourself in 10 years?
Like in a Vegas casino or something.
Okay, thank you.
Who am I here with?
Aubriana.
And where do you see yourself in 10 years?
In 10 years, I see myself living in a big old house with my big old family and my husband.
Period. Thank you.
Who am I here with?
Ren Susi.
Where do you see yourself in 10 years?
In Miami, Florida, at the beach.
Very nice, thank you. Who am I here with?
Ilya,
And where do you see yourself in 10 years?
working for a law firm, maybe somewhere in downtown.
Very nice, thank you.
Where do you see yourself in 10 years, Mia?
I see myself traveling the world with the Navy.
That's amazing.
Next are the January Athletes of the Month. Who am I here with?
Marisol,
And what is your goal for the end of the 2024 dance season?
to place at least once.
Thank you.
Sub 28 on my 50-yard freestyle.
To get the gold in basketball at the end of the year.
To go to state and place.
Next up, let's get to know our Eagle staff. Who am I here with?
Carrie Ann Walton.
And Dante.
And what are your jobs?
I'm the athletic secretary.
I'm the athletic director and assistant principal.
And what's your favorite part of the jobs?
I really enjoy getting to work with teenagers.
I enjoy working with Carrie Ann.
Okay, thank you.
Who am I here with?
My name is Carl Reinhold.
And what is your occupation for the school?
I am one of 3 assistant principals.
And what do you like about this job?
I guess the thing I like the most is working with scholars and having them realize their greatness as opposed to what they might think based on what they're going through.
That's great. Thank you. Who am I here with?
Miss Love.
And what is your occupation?
I am the high school receptionist.
And what do you like about this job?
I like when I answer the door and the students are in the camera like, student.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Who am I here with?
Gladys Ferris,
And what is your occupation?
educational assistant,
And what do you like about the job?
working with students.
Thank you. Who am I here with?
This is PJ, you know what I'm saying, representing REAP, YAC.
And what is your occupation?
My occupation is I am a Renaissance. I'm a mentor. I work with the youth. I'm a mentor. I'm also the assistant track coach, so I coach the sprints. So yeah, just come on, stop on by.
And what is your favorite part about the job?
My favorite part is just developing the youth. I'm all about, inspiring and being a leader, being an example for those that are younger than me, that aspire to be great. So when y'all succeed, I'm succeeding in what I'm doing. So,
Well said. Thank you.
Who am I here with?
Jessica Young,
What is your job?
reading specialist.
And what is your favorite part of your job?
My students, working with them and seeing them work hard and improve.
Thank you.
What's up, Eagles? I'm back again with another interview with Miss Robinson. And today we're going to be talking to her about BSU. So, Miss Robinson, what is BSU?
BSU stands for Black Student Union, and it's a club, an after-school club that's here at Centennial High School.
When and where can I find BSU?
So, when is BSU? It happens every Wednesday. Where is BSU? In my classroom, room 133. And what was that other part of that question?
When and where?
When and where. So, when, Wednesdays, where, room 133. Time is between 3:30 to 5:15.
Okay, and who can join BSU?
I mean, this is kind of tricky because a lot of people think that because the title is BSU, only Black students or students of African descent can join. Any student can join BSU. As long as you're here and we're talking about, I would say, problems, excellence, and joy around the Black community, that's the things that we do.
All right, Ms. Robinson, and who can I talk to join BSU?
You can talk to me, you can talk to any of the officers, you can talk to Paris, you can talk to Harmony Frazier, Vivian Dang, also Esther Salom. You can also talk to Damien in the Sun office. Or if you don't know who to talk to your teacher and they'll come talk to me.
Yes. And last question.
Yes.
What has been your personal experience in BSU?
My personal experience in BSU has been different. I would say when BSU, when I first took it over last year, it was a small club, but through the growth of students showing up consistently, recruiting consistently, we've had turnouts of 30 to 40 students. In club, we like to play Family Feud, we like to have potlucks, we like to do a lot of different things. And so we start out small, now we're getting bigger, and it's been an excellent time, at least for me. I've enjoyed myself.
Well, there you go, you guys. BSU will.
Today we're in the hallway asking students what song they're listening to. I think I just found one right here. Excuse me, what are you listening to?
Escape Your Mind by Ego Fear and For Benga.
Thank you. Who am I here with?
You're here with Star.
And what song are you listening to?
The Boy's Mine by Brandy and Monica.
I love that song.
Who am I here with?
Nene.
And what song are you listening to?
Playing Games by Summer Walker.
That's a great song. Thank you.
Asked was you to pick up the phone when you alone. All I ever asked was you to show me some love, kisses, and hugs.
Who am I here with?
Trey 5.
Oh my God. And what song are you listening to?
Barbie Girl by Aqua.
Okay, thank you. Who am I with?
Emil Bivano.
What song are you listening to?
2 days into college.
I wake up kinda wired and I wake up kinda cold and I wake up kinda tired, but I'll just sleep in.
Who am I here with?
Jaden.
And what song are you listening to?
Baby by Justin Bieber.
Thank you very much.
When I was 13, I had my first love. There was nobody that compared to my baby, and nobody came between us or could ever come above.
Thank you guys so much for watching.
Stay tuned
And go Eagles!
Really love those, and they're like my favorite thing now. But yeah, that is it for this month, though.
Thank you very much, and congratulations for you for student athlete
Thank
of
you.
the month. Great job. I really enjoyed those, and I actually did not anticipate that I would know any of the songs, but surprisingly, I did know a few of those. There's Some older cuts there, deep cuts. Next up, I'm going to turn it over to Superintendent Owens to introduce our next report.
All right, we've got Butler Creek in the house tonight. So we have the privilege of hearing from Gail Imran Sedaris and Dr. Karen Kennedy. They are the principal and assistant principal of Butler Creek Elementary, and they are going to introduce their school and tell us a little bit about the work that they're doing this year. So we'll go ahead and turn it over to them, and thank you to you and also to staff for coming as well.
All right. Well, good evening, everyone. For those of you that don't know me, I am Gail Sedaris. I am the proud principal at Butler Creek Elementary, and this is my 4th year at Butler Creek, but I've been in the district as an administrator for 7 years now. Before I get started, I want to say Happy National School Counselors Week to all of the wonderful counselors that are in our district, and especially to our BC superstar, Miss Danielle Balo. Also, a huge thank you to my staff for those who are able to be here tonight and those who are supporting in spirit from afar and virtually. And I would also like to introduce and show appreciation for our assistant principal, Dr. Karen Kennedy, who's in her 3rd year with us at Butler Creek. All right, so we have been through so much as a school, a district, a state, and a nation since 2020, and I would even say worldwide, when I started at Butler Creek. And through it all, we have stepped up and stepped in to support our students, families, community, and each other. It has been a priority to continue to strengthen and build a culture of collaboration, stability, and sustainability. And we show up every day with a commitment to realizing our school's vision and living out our mission. A big part of our success is attributed to our community partners. We work very closely with our PTA to host community events, fundraise for our school, and they provide teacher grants and help to fund a variety of resources for our school. This year we did something new and partnered with a company called Apex, or an organization, for our school fun run, and we were able to raise over $30,000 through that. So it was great, and we're hoping to do that again next year. Also, for the last 2 years, we were not able to offer school-based mental health services, but I'm happy to say that Trillium was able to hire a new therapist recently who will be split between Butler Creek and Pleasant Valley. And so she started with us a few weeks ago and has been an amazing addition so far. We also partner with Safe Routes to School, and we plan a walk and roll to school day just about every month. So that has been a really fun time for our community to get together, and they start at Butler Creek Park and walk through the neighborhood and come to school and have some fun activities along the way.
Yeah, the fall one we did was the Ruby Bridges Walk to School, so it wasn't quite on the day, but we were able to, and with I think 1 day notice, we had like 30 people that joined us. It was really amazing.
Mm-hmm. We also partner with the Shadow Project, who offers some reading intervention and also supplies and materials for a sensory break space. We have a preschool in our building this year through Multnomah Early Childhood Programming, and last year we partnered with an organization called World Oregon, where we were able to rent out culture boxes. So they've had people donate things from trips and other, ways of gathering things from artifacts from around the world. So each classroom picked a different country, and they were able to get a bunch of artifacts from World Oregon, and we hosted a multicultural event, multicultural night, and it was amazing. And we're planning to do it again this year in April 24th, I believe. So you're all invited, and I'll send out invitations when we get closer. But it was one of the best events that I've ever attended at a school, and we even had families bringing food and different things from their cultures and sharing performances, and it was pretty amazing. So hoping to do that again this year, and it'll probably be bigger and better. And we also partner with Champions, who offers before and after school support for our students and families. Across the district, and as I'm sure a lot of you have heard about the work that we have done over the last year and a half with strategic planning, partnering with Performance Fact to help lead us through some of that work. And through that, we have been able to also do a parallel process within our building to create our school-wide goals that are kind of filtering through and helping us to reach our district goals. So we have kind of honed in on where we would like to focus. So we looked at our data and some of our lower performing areas and made those some of our goals. So looking at like our student perception data, our attendance data, and then our academic data, and coming up with our next steps. So we have had multiple meetings with different groups, with parent groups, teacher groups, student groups. We had an organization come in and do an equity audit that helped to inform our goal making and creation. So through that, our leadership team kind of took the reins, and we created our goals and then vetted them through the rest of our staff and kind of made some adjustments as needed. So those areas for our goals, we're looking at high quality academics and grade level mastery and well-being and inclusion, which kind of equated to an attendance goal, and then incorporating student voice and empowerment and creating more engagement in academics and leadership opportunities throughout our school. You can leave it there for now. So one goal, which is something that's a little different than what we've done in the past, and this year we're using it to get a baseline. We wanted to look at our report card. So instead of using like our assessments, like our mid-year assessments and end-of-the-year assessments, we wanted to just look at the report card and see which standards students are passing or mastering. So we chose 7 standards total from both math and language arts. And so we will be kind of tracking for those 7 standards where students are falling and hoping to get a baseline so that next year we can say, well, we're hoping that 100% of students are meeting those. But first of all, we need to see who's doing that, because I mean, it kind of takes a lot to track. So I didn't put the whole spreadsheet in here because it's a monster spreadsheet, but trying to figure out ways to, like, if that's the goal, right? We want students to be meeting our standards and mastering the report card. So that's where we wanted to focus, and we picked a few for that this year. We are also looking at increasing our regular attenders from 60%, which coming through COVID and all those things, our attendance was really low. And so we're looking to increase that from 60 to 70%. And as of right now, we're at 66%. So we're making growth and hoping to do some more things, coming up with some new ideas to increase engagement and, students desiring and wanting to be in school. And then also looking at increasing the ratings on the student perception survey from our 5 lowest rated questions that were on the student perception data. In order to do that, we're looking at some very, specific strategies. We're looking at increasing the opportunity for student connection and engagement through structured student talk routines. And I think a few other schools, like we're pretty much all in line with what we're wanting to do as an elementary program, and all looking at increasing opportunity for students to connect with each other in the classroom and be talking through and working through with each other. Because usually the person that's doing the most learning is the person that's talking. So trying to increase that and having students be working with each other and figuring out different ways, different routines. There's so many different things to try. So we've been really focused on incorporating a lot of the training that we've been through with responsive classrooms and constructing meaning and universal design. Like they all these strategies kind of fall under the same umbrellas. They may have different names, but they're similar strategies. So really trying to tie those together so it's not seeming like we're doing so many different things. They're all kind of the same thing. So really wanting to support students in that way and really increase the engagement and the learning that's happening in our classrooms. We're also looking at increasing our complexity and rigor through looking at higher order thinking and questioning strategies. And then again, being strategic about our school-wide implementation of responsive classrooms, because we have spent a lot of time and energy the last 2 years going through the initial and the advanced training, and so we want to make sure that we're carrying that through and not kind of dropping since we're done with the training. Like if we're going to be responsive classroom schools, we really want to make sure that we continue on with that work. So we're excited. This Friday we have a representative from responsive classrooms actually coming to do our walkthroughs and kind of give her impressions of where we are and what we can do next. So we're excited to have her come to our school on Friday. Yep. So some of the practices and things that we have in place to ensure that we're able to do those strategies. So the kind of the background and the monitoring. So we're doing walkthroughs, which we're doing some of those at the district level. We have our administrative teams have been going through to different schools and doing walkthroughs, so we're using that data. And then we're also working with our coaches, and Karen and I are doing walkthroughs. And we've been planning, and some teachers have already done peer observations as well. We still have weekly PLCs. Our professional development is tied to culturally responsive, student-centered teaching and learning. And then we have implemented some planning half-days for teachers. Previously, we had done half-day planning, but it was tied mostly to reading interventions. But this year, we changed it up a little bit to make sure that we're using the time to do some backwards mapping and planning according to the strategies that we want to use and looking at the end result and creating common assessments and trying to really tie together all of the work that teachers are doing in their professional learning communities. So we're hoping to be able to offer those half days again later on in the spring, so they have more time for planning and implementation for our goals. Wait, yeah, not yet. So we have an exceptional staff, and so again, while we're here, I'd like to take a moment to thank all of our teachers, our educational assistants, office staff, custodians, kitchen staff, as well as instructional coaches and consultants for all that they do to support students and families and to keep the school operational. Though challenges arise, like our quickly changing student demographics, our fast-growing population, partnered with, at times, limited resources and staffing, we remain steadfast in our dedication to serving our community and ensuring that every student is successful. So we have a pretty cool video. My favorite part is at the end. So I just enjoy the video, and you'll get to know a little bit more about Butler Creek. I think so. That's good.
Yeah, so disconnect the screen sharing and then try to do it again. And then there's a button on the bottom that says optimize for video or something like that. Share sound.
Oh, when I'm here.
Yeah.
And then optimize the video as well.
I am a fourth grade student. Hello, my name is Kyson and I am a 4th grade student at Butler Creek Elementary.
Hello, my name is Alice, and I am a first grade student at Butler Creek Elementary.
At Butler Creek Elementary, I am just one of the 542 amazing students, and we speak over 24 languages.
Did you know that we have students from around the world? Our school principal is Gail Sedaris, and our assistant principal is Dr. Karen Kennedy. Join us for a quick tour.
At Butler Creek Elementary, we pride ourselves in our student, staff, and community. This is evident as we see our school staff do what they are passionate about every day. This is important to the health and well-being of our school community and a great part of our vision, which aims to create a caring and engaging learning environment that affirms each person, encourages lifelong learning, and inspires curiosity each day. We pride ourselves in preparing all students for a successful future and ensuring that their individual needs are met. We hope you can visit our school someday and meet our fantastic teachers, caring staff, and of course, Alice and me and all my fellow students. Thank you for watching, and we hope to see you soon. And we want to give you some insight into our amazing school.
I didn't,
It's okay.
And we want to...
I don't remember what we're saying. I'm just too nervous.
And we...
The video was great. Thank you guys very much. I don't know if you mentioned how amazing your PTA is at putting on a party. I don't know if anybody's gotten to go to one of those dance parties, but my kids attended, or my daughter attended Butler Creek for a while, and post-pandemic, those dance parties first coming back were insane and so much fun. I also just wanted to say, I really love to hear how you guys are incorporating some of the responsive classroom and universal design to support students and really bringing that to life. It's one thing to like go through the trainings and do all that, and it's another thing to bring it to life in the classroom. And it sounds like you guys are doing that. So great work. You're all part of the magic here. I appreciate you.
Thank you.
Anybody else like to take a moment to say anything?
I love having things to say. Having toured Butler Creek, like right when I got to join the school board, I love seeing those two hilarious children at the end. Oh my gosh, so cute. But I love the idea of taking your report card and sort of back mapping with that. Having spent hundreds of hours of my life filling out report cards, it seems a really logical way to look and see what your kids are doing. And I'm curious to see how that unfolds, like if it leads to calibration across grade levels and teams and grade bands and just kind of how all that builds. And if you could spread that sort of strategy and way of looking at kids' learning and assessments through other schools in the district, it could be really fascinating to kind of follow that.
Where it leads us.
Yeah, no, it's really, as I wrote down a whole bunch, I was like, ooh. So anyway, that really intrigues me. So thank you for sharing that and thinking about it in that way. Appreciate it.
Thanks.
Thank you, Dr. Stanley. No? Go Bobcats. Thank you. At this point, let's go ahead and take about a 7-minute break. and then we'll come back. And you guys are all welcome to stay and enjoy the rest of the meeting. I use the word enjoy lightly. No, you're always welcome to stay, and you're also welcome to go. Thank you for taking your time for us tonight.
Recording stopped. Recording in progress.
All right, welcome back, everybody. It's 7:18. Thank you for your patience. Next up, I'm going to turn it back over to Superintendent Owens to introduce the next report.
All right, we've got our student transfer report. This is an annual report that the board receives. This evening you have in new business an action item relative to looking at student transfer limits. But before we do that, this report is an orientation for you to be able to learn a little bit about the various transfer processes that we have in the district. And we have our Assistant Superintendent, Dr. Tasha Katsuda, and our transfers extraordinaire, Angie Colantino, who are here to help walk us through the process so that when you take up that new action later tonight, you'll have a little bit more insight in terms of how the mechanics work.
All right, good evening, board. This brief presentation is designed to provide you with an overview and a recommendation for the district's transfer timelines and the number of students to transfer in and out of the district in support of the board policy, which requires the board to establish these figures. Thank you, Albert. And again, as introduced earlier, Angie Colantino. She works here in the district office and facilitates our district transfer processes, which involve communicating and coordinating with schools, other districts, and parents and guardians who request those transfers. So happy to have her join me, and she's going to pipe in as needed as we go through our presentation here. There are two different kinds of transfers: intra-transfers between schools in our district and inter between districts. Students who live within the Centennial School District boundaries may request to attend another elementary or middle school within our district. Decisions are typically not made until late August, about the time that schools have been able to confirm their enrollment. The following conditions are considered in these transfer requests: whether or not there's adequate space and staff availability at the appropriate grade level requested. Parent must provide transportation and be able to do so to and from school. The appropriateness of the educational need. And all approved transfers are contingent upon adherence to school behavioral, attendance, and punctuality guidelines. And the duration of a transfer that's granted is granted to the highest grade level offered at that school. All right. Local school district by board action determines the number of students it can accept from outside the district through the inter-district transfer process. Districts may decide the number of students to admit at the district, school, or grade level, length of time, and whether or not a renewal is required. The process for an inter-district transfer requires parents and guardians to contact their resident school district to request an inter-district transfer release out of that district. The release serves as an application to Centennial School District, and no additional paperwork is needed from that family or that district. To establish a recommended number of students to accept through inter-district transfer and ensure effective school enrollment, we reviewed current enrollment, physical capacity of our schools, staffing, district goals, and our district needs. Our recommendation to the board for the 2024-25 school year is to allow 180 non-resident students to transfer into the district, and that we continue to monitor school and grade level enrollment and transfer numbers to maintain effective programming. If more students apply than allotted spaces are available, a lottery will be held after the August deadline. All right, so mid-years and moves. Mid-year move transfers are granted for one school year and for students who move during the summer and have missed the inter-district transfer process. These apply to students who move into Centennial School District boundaries after the application is due for inter-district transfers out of the district and wish to remain at their last attended school. And it also applies to students who move out of Centennial School District boundaries after the deadline into another school district and wish to remain in Centennial School District for the remainder of the school year. Of course, we under the agreement that parents are able to provide transportation. And students who move out of the state must register and enroll in their resident school district. Are there any questions so far? So students who move out of the state must register and enroll in their school district that they've moved into. And it's an unusual statement. I think it's something that's on a lot of our minds because in the time of COVID, we had a lot of highly mobile students, and they were attending schools virtually in a completely different state from which they resided in. And all of that's tied to AD&W, so we track that pretty closely. All right. If an application for an interdistrict transfer is denied, a parent has the option to submit a hardship appeal. We carefully review the appeal to determine whether it qualifies as a hardship as defined by Oregon statute. Hardship includes housing instability, a documented medical condition, student safety, and as you see here, that includes documented harassment, intimidation, bullying, domestic violence. Oh, you want me to go back?
Yeah. Is it better to ask questions than we can?
Yes.
Is that okay?
I mean, that's fine with us. Yeah.
I don't understand, okay, I always have to remind myself between inter and intron, right?
Yes,
So
me
inter
too.
is between.
Yes.
So documented medical condition, why, an example, please.
So for example, we may have a student, there's one situation where they're staying with a relative because their medical care is closer to where their relative is, and so that would be a hardship. Does that make sense?
It does.
Mm-hmm.
I just understand that this is one of the most challenging statements to make, but with students with higher needs, it's higher needs
Mm-hmm.
and more resources.
Mm-hmm.
So, excuse me, a documented medical condition, I also know that sometimes we have to contract with others, right, to support the student who's with us. And not necessarily in our physical school, but in a supportive environment. So, would that include that? I guess I'm looking at, do people look around and say, I think Centennial would do better for my student who has a medical need, rather than just a matter of where they're living?
Well, so far I haven't experienced that, and actually this situation hasn't come up at all since I've started here in an appeals transfer. But I've seen a record, historical record that showed that a student had a pretty serious medical condition, was staying with a relative because their medical care was at a hospital close by and only there, and that they were able to come, attend while being with relative and so forth. That would be a hardship, and we would probably consider.
Yeah, I would weigh in also, having been the lead on this process for 5 years before Dr. Katsuda, is that normally in my experience, even though this process that's being described here operates both ways in terms of hardship in and out of the district, my experience has been more requests out of the district and tracks what Dr. Katsuda was saying for that specific criteria about the documented medical condition. And these are evaluated on a case-by-case basis. To your question as far as whether it seems as if families are kind of looking at certain districts and their ability, I understand the question, and I would say in my experience I haven't noticed that.
And the documented is documented. You really are working with the families to try to understand the need of the student and why they would be moving between districts.
Yes.
For the very reason that you explained.
Yes.
I get it now. It's just needed some help.
Yeah, and that's the case for all of the transfer hardship appeals, is we look at it case by case, we look at all the evidence in front of us and consider it based on this criteria, so.
May I ask one more thing?
Yes, please.
This is also for hardships. This is not with the initial first request, because it's equitable. We don't take anything into consideration. So if a family feels they need to share more and they're denied, this is the opportunity for them to share their documentation.
Thank you. All right, are there any more questions about Connected? Okay, Great. So now I'll provide a brief overview, and what you see in front of you here are some district enrollment patterns. And actually, over the next 2 slides, you'll see that. As you can see, the number of students who are granted intra and interdistrict transfers has widely fluctuated, and this chart probably should look familiar since we've covered it over the last 3 years. So the number of mid-year and summer transfers from 2020-21 is primarily due to the pandemic-related shifts from emergency closure to distance learning to hybrid models of schooling. So you'll see some pretty significant fluctuations within those years. And at that time, guidelines were loosened, and tracking students' living location and therefore resident schools was challenging in and out of the state, right? So the numbers there somewhat reflect that particular condition. Yeah.
Question. Do the interdistrict numbers include students who maybe go between the virtual academy and the high school, or
Nope.
at any of the levels?
Nope.
That's an automatic.
Yep. Yep. Great. The in-district transfers, as you can see, dropped significantly this year. District in has held steady at about 60 for the last 3 years, and district out has dropped by 20 students in the last year. And so that's generally a positive trend for us. And unless there are questions, I can move to the next slide where I provide some disaggregation of the numbers for the interdistrict out.
And just a note on the 22-23 on the first row with the intra-district within the 89 that you see there, my recollection was that was when we implemented the comprehensive boundary adjustments, and those were primarily families wishing to stay in their existing school, and so they were in Oliver Middle School.
In the new
And so
middle school,
that
correct.
seems to have kind of leveled back as well.
Yes, absolutely. And I see the trend from 89 to 10, and even from the previous years down to 10 is a really good one. It means our boundaries are meeting the needs of our families. We don't have very many families requesting within the district to move between schools. So I think that's generally a positive thing. All right, so what you see here are the interdistrict out disaggregated numbers for 23-24 school year. I'll just give you a moment to get your eyes on that. So what you see here are overall numbers and some of the criteria we take into consideration when granting interdistrict out. Right. Are there any questions about this? Some rationale for reference. We take in consideration the student's experience regarding their last year in high school, the family's experience when children attend different districts, and the fact that we don't offer a language immersion program is something we consider and is a considerable difference between our district and others, and we grant those to families who are wanting their child to attend a language immersion in another district. Do you have anything you want to add to that? No? Yes.
Predominant language that's immersion that they're exiting for?
I would have to lean on Angie to provide the details of that.
It's a Russian immersion.
Oh?
I'd say 50% are the Russian immersion.
Portland Public offers a Russian immersion program.
Great. So what you see here are the figures that represent the recommendation we're making to the board in terms of the transfer numbers. And that concludes my report, and I invite any questions. We invite any questions you may have.
Thank you very much. Are there any further questions at this time? Please.
When, well, 180 is an increase, right?
No,
what
it's
we've been-
stable from last year.
From last, and then when you were mentioning, this is way early in the slide presentation about providing transportation, that if I'm coming here from a different district, I have to provide
Correct.
transportation. Because we are really trying to emphasize attendance, what do we do in those circumstances where parents aren't doing their due diligence with making sure that their children do come?
That is a very good question. I know there's a lot that's done at the building level to work with students and families in terms of daily attendance at school. And that is part of our multi-tiered systems of support and wraparound. And that staff and administration work with the families and work with each other to provide supports and interventions that would increase and encourage a regular daily attendance.
Would it keep a student from then, do we ever transfer students back? I mean, that sounds strange. I don't know how to, but it's like this student is never, transportation is not being provided. They're not coming. They're not fulfilling their part of the application, I guess, process. And so if they're not doing their part, do we then say you have to go back to your, you know,
Well,
where you more physically are associated
it's a
with?
great question. It has not actually come up in the 2.5 years that I've been engaged in facilitating this. And a lot of families who want to and apply to come here and attend here are highly engaged and want to be here, and that hasn't been my experience where we've had to review that and then deny their transfer because
There is revocation criteria, and it includes attendance percentage,
Yeah.
Behavioral incidences, and then the other issue we were running into when we added an additional criteria was with respect to students being left at the school and not being picked up on time, if that makes sense, and maybe Angie can speak a little bit to her experience
Yeah.
as well.
So when a student is accepted in their letter, it does state that that is one of the stipulations is that they are able to get to school on time and to do school on time as well. And we have a process in place where if that becomes a problem, they start to work with the principal on connecting with the families and having some meetings and letting them know, well, first just connecting with them to see what is going on, how can we support you, and if this isn't the best interest of the student because of these reasons, then the student can go back to their previous school. And vice versa. That happens where students come back to us as well, who have left, who it's in the best interest for them because they're not getting to school, and they do come back to us as well. So all districts honor that same process.
And there are similar criteria within district transfers as well, around behavior and such, so.
So do you have to have a transfer for the CDA or the virtual academy?
No. Yeah. All right. Are there any other questions?
Not seeing any at this time. Thank you very much.
All righty, thank you.
Next up, we've got the superintendent's report with Superintendent Owens.
All right. Greetings, board members. It is my pleasure and privilege to share with you this update about happenings in the district. There's quite a lot happening, and so you'll see quite a few topics that are covered this evening. First, I'd like to recognize, as was noted during the CHS student report, that February is Black History Month. It's an opportunity to celebrate the incredible ingenuity, strength, and resilience of the African American community, and a time for recognizing their central role in U.S. history. This month, Centennial schools will highlight and honor some figures who have broken barriers and helped pave the way for many others, both in the Portland area and beyond. On the screen, you can see the Centennial School District Monthly Celebrations and Heritage Month's website, which is a compendium of resources for educators to be able to access throughout the school year. And as was noted again in the CHS report, each school has different ways that they're celebrating and recognizing. As you can see here, there are different resources for staff and then resources for classroom and school activities as well. As was noted in the Butler Creek report, February 6th through 10th is National School Counseling Week. School counselors provide an essential role at all levels across our district. They are uniquely trained in child development, learning strategies, self-management, and social skills, and they understand and promote success for students. School counselors implement a counseling program which provides education, prevention, and intervention activities that are integrated to all aspects of children's lives, teaching knowledge, attitudes, and skills students need to acquire in academic, career, and social emotional development, which serve as the foundation for future success. As you can imagine, their work is quite aligned with the needs of our students and also Roadmap 27. Career and Technical Education Month takes place in February to celebrate career and technical education, also known as CTE, the accomplishments of CTE programs and the importance of CTE for students of all ages. Centennial proudly provides CTE pathways to more than 800 students in 33 CTE classes, which vary in fields including cybersecurity, fashion and housing, tech theater, accounting, and child development. The power of CTE at Centennial extends beyond theoretical knowledge, focusing on practical applications that equip students with employable skills. Collaborative efforts among students in these programs result in a vibrant learning community where creativity and innovation thrive. As students immerse themselves in CTE programs, the impact on graduation rates becomes evident. The hands-on learning experiences engage students and contribute to higher retention rates and academic success. In Centennial, the four-year graduation rate of CTE concentrators this past year was 91.6%, with over 95% of students completing high school in 5 years. CTE programs at Centennial play a crucial role in shaping the future workforce with well-prepared, skilled graduates ready to tackle the challenges of the professional world. As was also noted in the Butler Creek report, this week a representative from Responsive Classroom is performing implementation walkthroughs at 5 of our kindergarten through 8th grade schools as part of the implementation of the program. The remaining 3 schools will be part of the process during the week of February 21st, so all K schools will be visited during the month of February. As a reminder, Responsive Classroom is a student-centered social and emotional learning approach to teaching and discipline. It is composed of a set of research and evidence-based practices designed to create safe, joyful, and engaging classrooms and school communities for both students and teachers. As a result of the walkthroughs, each school's Tier 1 team members and building administrators will participate in a debrief following their walkthrough, which will be followed up by a report that is accessible from Responsive Classroom. The debrief focuses on strengths that were observed during the day and in alignment with Responsive Classroom practices. And those practices that are being focused on this year include at the K-5 level morning meeting, at the 6-8 level the advisory, interactive modeling, structured learning activities, classroom and school expectations, and student-teacher talk, which has been a feature point that you've seen in multiple elementary reports. The debrief will also focus on areas of the school can grow and strengthen its implementation of the practices. Oops, my finger slipped. I'm pleased to announce that today was the first day of successor contract negotiations with the Centennial chapter of the Oregon School Employees Association, or OSEA. At today's session, the district and OSEA bargaining teams met to establish ground rules, plan their bargaining topics, and then also plan for how they will communicate with the broader stakeholders. The teams also drafted a schedule of specific articles or topics for the first 5 upcoming bargaining sessions, so it's great to see that that is getting underway. I wanted to, even though that says OSEA bargaining at the top, it's going to bug me, so we're fixing that. Sorry, it would throw me off the whole rest of the topic. As you know, last year Centennial School District commissioned an equity audit, the results of which showed the need to change practices and the structures and systems that shape those practices across our schools. The district calendar is one of those structures that help shape practices across our schools. As a result, the district calendar committee, composed of staff across all levels and multiple job roles, is currently studying different ways to organize time during the school week to support instructional practice and improve learning experiences for students. Such a change could mean a change in the school year calendar starting in the 24-25 school year. Those will be brought to the board later on, probably close to after spring break. So I wanted to get this concept going with you now. Some ideas being explored involve moving instructional minutes from one school day in the week and spreading those minutes over the remaining days of the week to create a release time for students that would be used for educator learning and collaboration. So you might be thinking, what happens to late start Wednesday in that configuration? That would be changed to a release schedule. So more to come on that in a moment. None of the models under consideration will decrease instructional minutes for students. Each option takes into consideration enhanced learning and or childcare for students who need to remain in school until transported home, as well as transportation for students who qualify. As part of the study, we're gathering input from students, family members, and staff regarding the impact of potential changes and their preferences. I wanted to provide the board this update now, both to socialize this concept with the board and community, and to also solicit any input or questions that you have at this formative stage of the process. I can pause here if there's any immediate questions, or we can wait till I'm finished with the report. Dr. Katsuda is going to come up and address your question.
Representatives from across the district, employee groups, directors of operational departments, curriculum and academic directors, yep, licensed staff from across schools.
Union representatives and whomever they may designate to the
union
process.
Representatives.
Yep. Any other questions on that topic?
When will we expect to see a survey go out to families?
We're in the final stages of designing that and translating it, so that's a couple of work days.
Yeah, it's intended to be offered over a couple-week period in the month of February.
Awesome.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Good questions. On Tuesday, February 20th, Centennial will be conducting the Winter Data Summit. This routine is the second of trimester district-level data analysis cycles as part of Roadmap 27, conducted to monitor the impact of learning and adjust and improve our instructional practices and systems. During the Data Summit, representative school leadership team members will engage in a structured, reflective process that involves the review and analysis of student data and professional practices aligned to the school improvement plans and Roadmap 27. Teams will identify strengths and areas of need to develop a responsive action plan with the intent to review the impact of that plan during the Spring Data Summit, which will be held on May 14th, including engagement with the respective staff in a similar process at school sites in the coming weeks. As you may know, next week on February 15th and 16th, all Centennial schools will host parent-teacher conferences. This will be an opportunity for families and teachers to interact about their students' progress. Having them in mid-February will provide students approximately 4 weeks to make any needed adjustment before the end of the second trimester. So to those in our community and on our board who are parents, I hope the connection with your child's teacher or teachers is productive and informative. This is kind of neat here. As a follow-up topic, I mentioned during a recent report, students participating in the Fly U program at Oliver Middle School had the opportunity to take a field trip to Moda Center recently focused on the Portland Trailblazers. Students were able to tour the facility, learn about many different jobs that make the organization run. They also got to meet Blazer legend Terry Porter and hear a motivational talk from Coach Chauncey Billups. On the screen, you'll see a few of the memorable pictures taken from that day. And as you can tell, they did a really nice job of inviting and including Oliver Middle School and making them feel welcomed and special. So that was nice to see. This year, former Centennial and current MESD Superintendent Dr. Paul Coakley launched the Leaders Build Leaders podcast, dedicated to exploring the experiences, insights, and strategies of current leaders to provide listeners with practical advice they can apply in their own personal and professional development. I was honored to join Dr. Coakley recently to participate in the podcast for episode 4, which was released within the past week. Previous episodes feature ODE Director Dr. Charlene Williams, former Centennial and MESD Superintendent Sam Breyer, and Multnomah County Chair Jessica Vega-Peterson. I plan to share a link to the podcast with the board in my weekly email this Friday, and also wanted to mention it here as well. In my report in early January, I mentioned the Bond Oversight Committee would convene for its final quarterly meeting on January 18th. That, however, didn't happen due to the inclement weather we had that week. Therefore, the meeting has been rescheduled to next Thursday, it would be nice if I updated the date, February 15th, from 6 to 8 p.m. at Centennial Middle School. The committee will receive updates on the final project closeout and the budget, as well as the third and final annual report that will be presented to the board and public at the next board work session. Speaking of bond projects, next month in March, we will be commemorating the completion of our flagship bond projects with ribbon cutting for 4 elementary school gyms. Chief Communications Officer Albert Rosales Correa is in the process of coordinating the proceedings, and Save the Dates communication will be coming to the board and bond oversight committee members here shortly, so be expecting those in your inbox soon. Finally, as a follow-up on what was mentioned by Dr. Katsuda at the most recent board work session, student instructional time has been recalculated to incorporate the recent inclement weather days. Simultaneously, the Oregon Department of Education is pursuing a temporary rule with the State Board of Education during the next State Board of Education meeting next week on February 15th, which would provide districts up to 14 hours of instructional time due to closures caused by the extreme weather. We will need this waiver for 4th and 5th grade at some of our schools and also for Centennial Middle School. In addition, CMS shows as being right on the edge of instructional time requirements, even with the 14-hour waiver. I've asked Dr. Katsuda to work with CMS Principal Nathan Buck to review the school schedule in order to be within the instructional time requirements. Should additional inclement weather and or building closures occur this year, I may need to engage the board with respect to how it would like to approach addressing this. In the meantime, I simply wanted to ensure you and the community had this updated information. And I welcome any comments or questions you might have about these topics, and that concludes my superintendent's report.
Thank you very much, Superintendent Owens. At this time, are there any questions? Please.
Just go back to CTE. Do we do CTE programs at our middle schools yet?
We do, and Director Callahan is going to give us a little bit of information about what we offer.
Oh, are you already ready for this?
No.
Oh,
Yes.
look so
No,
good.
but yes.
I was doing this as you were talking.
Good evening. We are, a certain percentage of the high school success dollars go to middle school, and so we've invested those dollars into a web-based program called U Science, which is a career-related learning website. We've got staff at both locations who are working to make sure all kids at 8th grade are exposed to having access to that. And so that also includes lessons. And I know our counselors are doing some work around career development as well. And I would say that is Denise and I are actually working on a K-12 career-related learning program, and so really looking at that from the whole system.
Please. Do you consider things like when we were hearing about, what is it, Big Eagle, Little Eagle, the mentorship programs? To me, mentorship programs are also a gateway to counseling and to teaching and all sorts of things when you've been exposed to helping others, either in a learning environment or to adjust to an environment. So do those kinds of things come under that umbrella of career development?
Absolutely. And I think that's some of the work that we're doing is really turning over the rocks of what are we already doing and being intentional to connect that to career development. So I think in the next year or so, you're going to see some just connecting the dots.
Little plug for my organization, Friends of the Children, because we're a professional mentoring organization. It's its own career path. And there's a few big eagles who are already excited to come work for Friends of the Children when they're ready.
Nice.
So. Great.
Thank you, Director Callahan.
Any other questions at this point in time? Great. Moving right along, let's jump into confirmation items.
Move to approve confirmation items as listed.
Second.
All those in favor, raise your hand and say aye. Aye.
Aye.
The ayes have it. Next up, board action items. So for board action item 7.1.1, we will actually be moving that to the next meeting. We currently don't have a full attendance of the board, and that's what we were hoping to have when we address this topic. So we will jump to new business, 7.2.1, student transfer limits.
All right, we will welcome Dr. Katsuda back. The agenda went faster than we anticipated.
Recommend that the board adopt the district transfer limits as outlined in the board bill.
I move we adopt the transfer limits.
A second.
All those in favor, raise your hand and say aye.
Aye.
Aye. The ayes have it. We have approved the student transfer limits. Next up, under new business, we have a first read of policy BDBA, board meetings. And that is something that both myself and Superintendent Owens will be presenting. Do you have a?
Yeah, I would just say that the next two policies that you'll see kind of operate in tandem, and the reason that you see Sheriff Stolowski's name on the policy, whereas those are normally addressed by the superintendent's cabinet, is that obviously these concern how the board operates and functions, so it's really in your domain in terms of how you'd like to see that drafted. One thing I'll say before we dig into the actual wording of the first policy about board meetings is that one aspect of that policy concerns board training, which was something that was legislated recently, but when we checked, we proactively checked with OSBA to see what the status of that training would be, and that is to be developed, and I'm going to look over to my right here and ask for our assistant to the board, Missy Grindle, to fact check me if I misstate anything. But the Oregon Government Ethics Commission is the one that I believe is responsible for providing that training, and my understanding is that the January 1st requirement for that to be instated, which is why we're bringing this after the new year, was for that to be developed, has not been met yet, and so that training is not yet developed, and so passing a policy that obligates the board to training that isn't available puts y'all in kind of a precarious spot. So that's why we moved it from first read with option to adopt to simply first read, so that you can see the policy now still, but not be obligated to something you can't feasibly do yet.
Are we going to share? Okay.
Yeah, you can see the updated language. I'm just scrolling through to see if there's anything in particular to highlight for your attention. What I would say here is that Vice Chair Shields, if you see what's written in purple in particular, those are wording adjustments that she is suggesting. If you see words that are struck through in red, those are what OSBA has considered to be outdated, and what is in the gray highlighting is the new language that they've added. And of course, as you've seen before, if it's in brackets, then you can see the language that is optional for the district to consider. And if we didn't strike that through, we're suggesting that the board adopt the language that is optional as part of the policy, if that makes sense. I don't know if there's any other features that Chair Solowski or Vice Chair Shields, since you've spent some time purple lining it, might have to say about it.
It's been some time with it. As usual, when they have a lot of changes, it's a little bit disjointed. So most of my purple comments are just moving things in a place where they make more logical sense in terms of their order, putting back the opportunity for us to discuss in the spring about our schedule. Although I reread that and there's a really run-on sentence there, I might make a suggestion for breaking that up prior to our approval. But for the most part, there wasn't that much new, with the exception of the ethics, which you've already reviewed, and This will give us a more opportune time to review what's already here in front of us and then what may likely come from the Ethics Commission.
Thank you. Are there any other questions from other directors?
No, thank you.
No. So just expect more on that. TBD. 7.2.3 new business, first read of policies with an option to adopt for BDC. And that has to do with executive sessions. Pull that up here.
You can see that there's some wording adjustments as it pertains to executive sessions. And the same guidelines that I said as far as what's struck through or what's been added apply here.
Please.
I would like to highlight number 9 and 10, the additions that they've made. I think that those should have been done long before this. We ran up against, those kinds of scenarios and discussions, and we weren't always sure where they belonged in terms of meetings. Allowing the board to have an executive session to clarify that, I think, is appropriate, and I appreciate 9 and 10 being added the way it has been. That the rest of it is pretty much just restructuring some of the wording.
And just to add on, to build on what you just said, 9 and 10 were additional criteria by which the board can legally meet into executive session.
I'd like to move to approve as presented BDC executive sessions.
I'll second
it. All those in favor, raise your hand and say aye.
Aye.
Aye. The ayes have it. I think we have a new record today, folks. Coming up, let's talk about some future agenda items.
All right, I've got a list here. We have, let's see, I think I might have missed a report that we're having up next. I believe Centennial Virtual Academy is up. Is that correct? Centennial Virtual Academy is presenting at the work session, which will be virtual, and that makes sense given it's the Virtual Academy, so we will see them virtually at the work session later this month. We also will have the recognition of Classified Staff Appreciation Week, which is actually the first week in March, and it's our board meeting that's before that. We'll have an introduction to the leaders of the newly established Centennial District Arts Foundation, so that'll be interesting to see. Bond Oversight Committee annual report is intended to be presented, as well as the final bond quarterly report with Scott Rose. We will also have the board look at the process by which requests for boundary changes between districts happen. So there'll be a presentation about different requests that we've seen more so recently with a lot of development, particularly in the south side of the school district. And we've done some research on that, and so we will have a presentation around some of the requests that we get and what that looks like in terms of the development of the land, and then have the board have some conversation around, okay, so since we have these requests that are coming in more frequently, how would the board like to address those going forward? So that's coming up next. We also have the approval of the Powell Butte Seismic Improvement Construction Cost Guaranteed Maximum Price, and perhaps we'll have a few policies as well. So a bit for us to do.
Quick question. Currently, those people can go through the inter-district transfer process. This is for requests that come through outside of that process.
These are actually, yeah, these are requests. That's a good question and clarification. So these requests wouldn't be, it would be not only for their students or whomever may come to live in the property that they own if it's not developed to go to school in the district. It's for that residence or land to exist in that other school district, which is a little bit different.
Thank you for that distinction.
Yep.
Anything else for the good of the order? Thank you for the oranges and mandarins. I was told they were both. Think they were delicious. The mandarin was delicious. Thank you for sharing. If there is nothing else at this point, we will adjourn at 8:03 p.m. Have your evening back.
Bye, Jess. Take care.
Thank you. Have a good night.